Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Dharmawan from Group 1, and today I will explain about globalization. Globalization is where state boundary and distances between countries are not an obstacle anymore for global societies, so that a lot of product can be sold on many countries. Even company orientation already paying attention to consumers globally, so the profit that company get not only inside of the country but also internationally. Globalization is also known as recognition to have focus globally and not regionally anymore. Globalization phenomenon has three factors that bond to each other, which is closeness, location, and attitude. Closeness, manager now work in much greater proximity than before, where manager facing with consumer, competitors, suppliers, and government that become more diverse. Location, where the location and integration by some company pass through the international boundaries, and attitude, where the attitude of manager become more open to a lot of international boundaries. Next, I will show you the characteristic of globalization, where we have seven characteristics here. First is there are difference in interpreting space and time, where space and time already not an obstacle anymore, where communication and information exchange can be done faster. Second is economies between countries are interdependent, because the production for some product can only be produced at certain country with less production costs also. Third is information exchange become faster, where the main characteristic is easy access and faster to seek information on a lot of country. Fourth is emergence of common problem globally, where globalization brings up issues globally also. For example, is global warming. Fifth is the occurrence of cultural exchange, where the interaction between culture happened, which encouraged the occurrences of cultural exchange. Next, we have communication process become easier than can we can communicate without time and space barrier with gadget. We have a smartphone or laptop that has internet access. And the last is the openness on every aspect that will happen, because we interact with a lot of country internationally, that pushes us to open on a lot of aspects. For example, is the country politics. And next, we have globalization and competitiveness. Globalization and competitiveness, uh, from the three factors above that I showed before, globalization brings the competitiveness to a higher level with more competitor. And each competitor has a different criterion for their own, but we need to understand two most common criteria. Uh, this criteria is also known as time perspective, and the first is present relative position looking to the future, where competitiveness can be referred as readiness of a country for future competitiveness interactions, so that they will have a chance to win the contest in the future. And second is relative position of the present from the past to the present, where competitiveness can also be described as a benchmark for past performance, that this criterion used for a company that already become the part of world market by some country, where the company can be called competitive, is observed by their effort from past until the present time. Next is how government affects competitiveness. At a glance, the Indonesia company is still performing quite well compared to the other companies to the other countries. However, this performance may not necessarily be able to answer the challenges of a changing world external environment. This is partly due to the weakening of Indonesia competitiveness. So why Indonesian competitiveness is weak? First, that Indonesia has experienced an increase in terms of trade, which is due to the appreciation of the effective exchange rate, or REER, due to the strengthening of the normal exchange rate, as well as the increase in the level of domestic prices compared to other countries due to high costs. Second is because Indonesia's production technology is relatively behind a number of competing countries. And third is due to Indonesia's failure to carry out regulatory reforms after the 1997 Asian financial crisis. Now there are also many of the policies affecting competitiveness are based on inappropriate approaches and paradigm. First, that many policies are based on an obsession with added value, such as downstream policies. In fact, added value in production often comes from processes that both physical and capital and skill intensive, and not merely labor intensive, which is more needed in creating jobs. In addition, the increase in added value also does not mean producing goods of higher value. For example, producing aluminium compared to bauxite, because to produce aluminium requires a higher cost than producing bauxite. As a result, value the added value will probably be negative even though the aluminium value is higher. And second, many policy tends to be inward looking and rely on import substitution. The rationale is that providing protection will provide opportunities for domestic industry to learn and enjoy economies of scale before becoming efficient. The problem is protection is often provided without clear limits or performance criteria. As a result, entrepreneurs prefer to influence the government for protection rather than becoming more efficient in production. The various views above are incompatible with the global production and trade environment, which is increasingly vertically integrated and involves many countries. An electronic goods, such as computer for example, is the result of the production process that occurred across the country. This is what is often referred as the global production network or global value chain. In the global production network, fewer countries produce goods from upstream to downstream and only produce according to their comparative advantage. So that's from me. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.